Hello and welcome to A5Evening, an all-party roundup. I am Grant of Broken Synapse Press, an A5E supplement publisher, an A5E narrator, and one of the datamancers of Advanced 5th Edition.
I'm Allie, I'm one of Grant's players, and as always, I'm just excited to be here.
And I'm Jen. I'm one of the A5E datamancers, alleged humanoid, and overall hype person.
And joining us today, we have Anthony Alipio from VSR Ink. They're here to talk about all sorts of things, but especially his new class. Anthony, would you like to say a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Sure. I guess I've been designing for almost 10 years now in the industry. Started off just looking at adventure writing and then fell into monster writing, and then one thing led to another, and ended up with A5E being one of the lead designers there, and really things took off from there. So I'm excited about it, and I'm excited where we are today, and I'm just glad you're glad to be on the show.
We're glad to have you.
One of the lead designers, all casually, when his hands are everywhere.
Right, hands are everywhere. The main books, lots of GPG articles, all sorts of stuff.
It's fun stuff. I mean, I can't say no if an opportunity comes up. So
That's fair.
Maybe a good problem to have.
Oh no, too many things to write.
So yeah, like you said, you worked on the Adventurer's Guide for Level Up.
Yep.
Trials and Treasures, Monsters Menagerie 1 and 2. All right, and a bunch of self-published third-party stuff, including some adventures and character options. The Secret Society of the Is it the Tanguar?
Tanguar, yeah.
Nice. I like that one. That one's got a really good combat tradition that I really
I love that combat tradition.
Which I think you are reprinting in the project you're going to talk about today.
That's correct, yes.
See my shirt, this is a big hint for what we're going to kind of be talking about today. I got my Huntrick shirt on. So
nice.
And then other third-party collaborations, including probably my favorite book that I recommend people, which is Venture Forth.
Awesome book.
It's a collection of knacks for all of the base classes to kind of expand everything out. Yep. If you haven't picked up Venture Forth yet, that is my big recommendation.
It is one of the must-take third-party books of any sort.
I love how when we went into that, we were like, "Hey, how can we flesh all of the characters out, all of these classes out, and make sure that everyone has the options that they need for venturing forth into the wild?"
The problem is you made that so good that for people like me trying to make our own classes or knacks or things like that, I'm so intimidated. I'm like, I'm never going to live up to this. Oh, God.
Well,
we're all just human.
After the fact, so.
Right.
I know, but I just hold myself to an impossible standard.
And then you also have the VSR Ink blog.
Yes.
Which you have kind of put some of your design process in. Do you want to talk about your blog a little bit?
Yeah, sure. It actually just started off a way for me to just document what I was doing. So, hey, I'm working on this project, or hey, I just put out this adventure or something like that. Then I realized I started getting stuck writing sometimes, especially when it's for my own things. Someone else is like, hey, you got to write for me. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. But when it's like, hey, it's my project, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll slow roll this. Maybe I'll.
Yeah, you and I have shared commiserating on that fact before, yes.
But the blog really seems to unlock, as I write about writing, it seemed to unlock more inspiration or more, thoughts on what I wanted to do or how I wanted to do it, even if I was describing something I had already done. And it just it was like having a conversation with somebody. And that's kind of, a lot of how things come up in my writing is I'll have a conversation, or I'll think of something and have to spell it out for myself, and that's really what that was about for me. I realized the blog doesn't have to be for other people. If they love it, then great. But if it helps me write some more stuff, then even better.
For the main segment, right, the main reason we did want to have you on is because you have a big new project coming out called Warden of the Veil, which is your Shamanist class.
Definitely. I'm super excited about this one. As I wrote about, if you read the blog, it came out of me pretty quickly, most of it, like the biggest chunk of the class. And traditionally for me, classes are one of the biggest elements, design elements that you can kind of undertake in the A5e world or the TT or RPG world. Typically, I spend a lot of time, I spend a lot of effort moving into it, and this one spilled out of me pretty quickly. And a big reason for that was its inspiration, right? Like you said, your shirt kind of tells that story. Certainly, if anyone was just paying attention to anything in the world last summer, this movie kind of came out, the K-pop Demon Hunters, and like most people, I fell into it because my kid said, "Hey, come watch this with me," and then I was like,
Yeah, right.
So good.
I mean, yes, the music was fun. The style that they chose for the animation was really cool, and the story was, a good mix of things like humor and, lots of interesting elements. One of the things that really inspired me was its dive into and interesting take on culture. Specifically the Korean culture. And so that's really where I drew a lot of my inspiration, was seeing that and seeing, Asian culture being, kind of exposed and kind of delved into a little bit. And I said, I want to see that. I want to learn more about that too. So one of the things that I wanted to capture the feeling that you've got these really interesting and fun characters that have some sort of mystical connection with the supernatural, right? They pull their weapons out of nowhere. They sing songs, and it creates magic. And so that was a big part of it, that feeling of how can I make something dynamic and reflect that, but also kind of bring it into a world where I'm familiar with, the fantasy world. Thinking about those original hunters, right? That one scene where they're telling the history. That was kind of like the if there were a picture that I could say, hey, the Shamanist fell out of this, it was that moment, right? A lot of little elements too, like when I started digging a little bit deeper and just kind of paying a little bit more attention to what was going on with the movie, and people were starting to discuss, hey, this comes out of Korean culture, and this comes out of, the Mudang tradition or the shaman tradition. Like that's where I kind of picked up the shamanist idea. I've got an element in there around some of the pendants that the hunters wear, right? They're little woven things with a yarn or thread or whatever, and they have meaning and they have like power or protection or so I kind of developed an aspect into the class around that. The totemic objects, right?
Yeah,
These.
yeah. So I
And you can
also,
tell, sorry, Allie, you can tell
Nope,
that
go for it.
intentionality because last summer when K-pop Demon Hunters was really big, there were a couple of those Kickstarters by, just call it for what it is, white people trying to capitalize on it was just taking the aesthetic and not taking the culture or even trying to understand the culture. And as reading through the Shamanist and what you've put in there, granted, I have a very limited understanding, but you could tell that it was you did that intentionality, and you were really going for much more than just, I want the Huntrix aesthetic. I want to,
Right.
and like you said, that touchstone of that first set of hunters is exactly what I figured out. Like it clicked immediately when I finally watched the movie this week, which to my great shame, I have no small young girls in my family that would have enjoyed it. So I waited until now, but I saw that touchstone and it clicked, and all the pieces just fell together. That you did such a good job bringing that into
Thank you.
wider understanding.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And again, I like the research. Like I'm not intrinsically Korean. I'm Filipino, but just seeing cultures get elevated in such a way and then broadcast around the world, I really wanted to take a moment and say, it is more than just the visuals, right? It's beautiful and it's interesting and it's exciting, but there's definitely more to it than that. And you could tell that the creators of this project really took that seriously too. And so I wanted to honor that in a way that I could.
Yeah, this class looks very fun to play, and I think I was interested with the archetypes because I mean, Demon Hunter seems to be kind of on the nose for
Sure.
K-pop Demon Hunter, right? Can you tell us a little bit about the other two archetypes and maybe their influence?
Sure, absolutely. So a little background or backdrop to that. When I originally started thinking, hey, I'm going to try to put a class to this, or maybe a subclass, I realized pretty quickly that yeah, maybe I could go with an adept archetype or a bard archetype or something like that. And it just didn't mesh right for me. I felt like I really needed to build it out into a full class. And as I did that, I knew right away, like, hey, I can't go out with one archetype, right? One. So I really wanted to create a framework that could support not just my archetypes, but for those that come behind me, for designers to latch onto. What I came across was a very interesting. I was also streaming services watching a show called DanDaDan, and it is also animated. Also, interestingly, young people interacting with the supernatural, and also very inspiring to me personally to see again a different Asian culture, a Japanese culture, looking at their past. What was interesting to me about that, and how it kind of just naturally expanded the Shamanist. It's a show that also has young people, like I was saying, interacting with the supernatural, bringing the past traditions, in this case Japan, into the present. So it's this collision of past and present. There's a little bit more to it. I'm not doing spoilers here for that, but it did provide me another source of inspiration for these archetypes. And in fact, I think all three of the other archetypes kind of draw from that show. They have several different characters that manifest in different ways their power, or their how are they manifesting this connection, the spiritual connection to the other world. And so certainly there's aspects of that in there. I wanted to expose that as well, and bring that to the fore. Did a little bit of additional research into that side of the house. There was some costuming designs in the animation where they brought out some traditional garb, and I found that was a shrine maiden, and so that imagery comes into play in the Shamanist as well. And so yeah, that's sort of merged or blended very well together with this idea of the shaman. And I can imagine, all kinds of cultures around the world have this concept of, this supernatural, this somebody that stands between life and death, or the here and the now versus the far away or the spiritual. Hopefully, it's a strong enough structure there to support that.
Well, like I was saying earlier on the chat, I already have a couple of ideas myself.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
I really liked the possessed one archetype. That one looked like it would be kind of fun to play with some of the different skills and things that it brought.
Yeah, certainly. A lot of that was just like Easter eggs for what's going on in the show, DanDaDan. But those types of tropes of how you get possessed, and then you have to you have to battle the demons within, literally. That's kind of where that one comes from. So.
I was so excited sharing this, and I was like, I'm so excited to record. I said, too bad your campaign has no space for this fiction. I'm mad at you. Yeah. And one day I was like, one day I'm gonna get the whole wish list of classes. And so now you've added to the Oops All Bloodblades wish, and the Wielder, and just like, it's all, gosh. I don't know about campaigns.
Well, interestingly, like part of Wardens of the Veil, another part of the Kickstarter itself is going to be an adventure. It could be done in 1 or 2 sessions, depending on how certain parts of it play out. So if you're ever at a point where you happen to have a couple people that are out and you need to fill the space, thinking about putting in some pre-generated characters, you can drop some Shamanist in there, drop some maybe Ghostly Soul Adept in there, and go to town and see how that works out.
I will say that's a great thing to add to this Kickstarter, because if you're introducing a whole new class, it's a nice thing to put in a whole adventure and be like, well, here we go.
yeah, try it out.
Try it out. That's fun.
Yeah.
I saw that in the preview, the adventure, the pre-gens, and I think that got me excited in the way of, that's unique about a lot of the A5E backer kits and Kickstarters that we've seen. You know, you had like the complete class compendium, which had feats and classes and things like that. And then you have like Alpha Star, which yes, there was an adventure in it, but this is like you get this, but then we're gonna make this into a real like source for this class.
Right.
And with a very nice focus on it and just kind of broad scope, but still narrow in that way.
And like I like to think about it as like you're bringing a kind of a whole ecology together for the players. It's like a kind of plug and play, if you will. That's often how my mind works with design, is that one thing leads to another, and what starts off as, hey, I could do a monk archetype here, or an adept archetype, turns into like this massive brand new class with 4 archetypes and a new combat tradition. So you mentioned you like the combat tradition. I've developed a couple now, and so this will be my, I think, 3rd or 4th. But I added a new one in here called Golden Harmony, which I'm excited about. A lot of fun stuff in there too.
I know it's probably hard to do this, but do you have a favorite part or something that you're like really excited for people to see?
Sure. Like, I mean, there's a lot of little things. Just like the movies, it's the little details that I love about this class. I mentioned already the totemic objects around. I'm leveraging some of those amulets. But I guess if I had to really pull out my favorite part, and it's actually a full 2-page spread in the book itself. Derpy tiger and the hat-wearing magpie, right? It's such an iconic, weird thing that I had to look it up myself, of course, and see, well, where did that come from, and why is that in this movie? Like, what does that have to do with anything? It's just some random thing. And it turns out there's a fable that goes along with it, similar to some of Aesop's fables. And there's a lot of traditional paintings that have this fable represented. And so one of the objects that I created was like a small painting, and then these creatures can come out of it as a part of your skill. You draw them out, and so it's a call out to the movie itself, where these creatures kind of are your pets, and they Genu's pets, and they kind of do his bidding or serve as messengers. But also it's an idea that calls out the reason behind why they're together. Why is it a pair in the first place? And why is the tiger derpy, right? Like the tiger in a lot of cultures, but in Korean culture, they're like the equivalent of king of the jungle, right? They're called the prince of the mountain. And so how did it end up where this beast is the one that's the fool, and the magpie is the one that gets the hat, right? So, so it's a neat story, but to put it into gameplay, it made it. That's probably my favorite thing for me personally as the designer.
I mean, who doesn't want a derpy companion, right?
The cuter or derpier, the better.
Yeah. Okay, well, those are all the questions I had. Either of you have any other questions?
I have a few. Jen, you want to go with yours first?
Oh, yeah. So one of the things I noticed, obviously, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, taking a power and a concept that is different than what we're used to seeing in D&D. So like the power of song for Huntrix and whatnot. What were their challenges on taking a magic like that and mechanizing it in the way that we know in D&D with spell slots or maybe spell points or something like that? How did you take something that's a group oriented and unique and turn it into these mechanics that function in the ecosystem?
Right. That's always a challenge, because a lot of times as a designer and a wordsmith, if you will, like, I feel like I want to go off the rails a little bit and bring something new and exciting and like, hey, this is super cool thing that I just did, but I gotta, figure out how does it fit in the ecosystem. It's a game. There are concepts, and that balance is always the I don't want to call it a struggle, but it's one of those things that comes with the territory. It's a challenge, and it's one that I enjoy kind of undertaking. To do that here, I think what I wanted to think through was the natural idea behind like a Huntrix character would be to say, oh, of course, Bard, right? Magic and music, that's Bard. There was so much combat associated with these characters that I wanted to, and physicality, right? And the Bard is a full caster, right? There's little space for that. And yeah, you can get the sword Bard or what have you. But I really wanted to develop something that was, a little bit more unique to this idea. And so I started with the idea of half-caster. And we already have like a half-caster cleric with the herald. We have a half-caster, wizard or sorcerer with
or the artificer.
Artificer, thank you very much. Just words sometimes escape me.
Fair.
And we don't really have a half-caster bard, right? So I thought that would be an interesting place to start, right? Yes, bard is the first thought, and so why not half-caster bard? So I leveraged that concept. Half-caster is a feature that exists in the ecosystem, a thing that I can model. But the challenge with half-casters is always, how do we make them powerful enough on their own without feeling like I'm no longer a full caster, or I'm no longer fully melee or martial. And so what I tried to do was place some of that power structure into the archetypes themselves. So this is a little bit less traditional in some senses. Like a lot of there is a core power in the core class of the Shamanist, to boost that to the level of equal to other full classes, right? Typically, and you'll see this with the Herald, is like the smite starts to become that thing that carries them. The Artificer has, a lot of different tools in their belt. What I did was I added some combat maneuvers and extended those features and that side of the house with the archetypes. So, trying to put these things into the realm of real gameplay, getting back to your question, was, there are a lot of tools in our ecosystem, especially maneuvers and knacks and all sorts of things, focus features. And I think the shamans just really helped me draw that all together in a way that still felt like, hey, these concepts are familiar, these mechanics are familiar, but how they're put together feels new. It feels like, hey, this is something that's worth writing about. This is a shamanist. This is not a bard or an adept or a sorcerer, right?
It's a lot more than even just a half bard. I am so excited for this class. It's just everything.
Really?
Yeah, I cannot wait.
I don't think I've been this hyped for something that I haven't played yet since Bloodblades.
Yes,
and
Bloodblade,
like I said,
right?
Bloodblade is outside my genre ever, but I'm like so hyped for that, and this is like that same level of, oh my god, I'm so hyped.
Thank you.
As I'm reading it, I'm just like, ideas.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god, I have an idea for like a blues shamanist, and like I just want to play all these. I want all my players. Oh, I'm just so excited. It's so good.
You could totally have a full party of shamanists. I could see it. I could definitely see that.
So shamanists.
Yeah.
The third one shot in our series.
I did have a little bit of how the sausage is made question, because you shared, like we talked about on your blog, you put a lot of your creative process on this. This is how I first was introduced that you were working on something this. And it's like, I was just wondering about, well, you kind of covered that actually. Now I'm asking a question you already answered. It's you're holding yourself accountable, I guess. Is there anything you want to say on that, or?
Well, that too, but like one of the other, like, so again, I have a bad habit of expanding my tasks beyond what they initially started. One of the things I want to do at some point is can I teach somebody to create a class? And you'll see, like, all over the place, there's guides for creating archetypes and, how to balance an archetype for a specific class. And they do a good job. I leveraged that a lot when I was early in my design phases. And, understanding, there's already an established way that these archetypes interact with a class. And so you know that certain levels for an archetype are going to need more social skills, or certain levels of an archetype are going to need to really boost power. But how do you do that with a full class? Because you're dealing not just with these sub-levels, but you're dealing with the frame and the sub-levels. And so I was trying to challenge myself to say, if I were to teach a class in how to create a class, if you will, or teach a course to keep it separate, on how to create a class, how would I go about that? And so that's sort of another part of that blog was, again, mostly for myself, but to challenge myself to say, could I impart information to somebody that wanted to build their own class? How could I guide them on that? And so that's the other part of, and I'm glad you asked the question twice because it had two answers.
Fair enough. I like talking to authors. There's always more answers.
Yeah.
We just make them up as we go.
We're yeah. And then, so one of my, because you shared with us the preview copy, and
Yep.
one of the great joys I had going through it was finding all of your little references, some pretty subtle, some pretty very
In
right
your
on the nose.
face, yes.
I love it, and it's just to K-pop Demon Hunters
Yeah.
and other things as well. And it's just, how did you decide what to include without being like top, but still keeping like the whimsy and the fun?
Yes.
Because it's fun going through this book and being like, oh, that's I get it.
Yeah. I like to think of design, but as we talk about the math and we talk about the balance and we talk about these things. So it is part science, but it is part art, right? And so there's a feeling that I want to capture, and there's a feeling that I want to evoke when I write something, when I present something. And so a lot of it is just going by feel. I feel like there's no real secret sauce to it. But when something fits, like I know it, and then I can take that and say, oh, well, if it fits here, is it something that can be common across a set? So you'll notice that all of the archetypes have a little blurb under them.
Yeah.
And so I won't
Very
say too
good,
much
very
there.
good.
Yeah. But that I started with one, and then it was two, and then I was like, two of these things make sense. Can I make four make sense? And so yes, it's sort of a happy accident that turns into intentional design, intentional call outs and stuff like that. And then just exploring, right? I knew that for the Demon Hunter class, I wanted my capstones to reflect the three hunters. And so I was thinking about words and thinking about names and thinking about, are there words in the English language or related that can evoke these things that I want? And you probably saw that again if you're reading through my blog and looking at some of the stuff that I did with League of Legends Arcana. I did
another great. People should check that out too. I'll link that as well in the show notes because I got a big kick out of that too. So.
Sure.
Brand's been bugging me for another year about that one.
I'm an animation guy.
Yeah,
I know. I respect it.
And when we say animation, right, it's a story, right? That's the thing that calls to me about those things. That there's a medium that they can tell these stories in such a way that they're unbounded, right? You don't have to be constrained by, hey, can this person be lifted to do this thing, right? You can just draw it. And so I think that's the part of it that is the part of what inspires me is, hey, they're pushing beyond the limits of what storytelling can be. Can I do the same thing? Can I do that too? And I went a little bit off track there with your question, but
no, it's okay. In that side tangent thing, animation is one of my favorite art forms. I just can't sometimes watch things. I'll sit there and be like, I can't sit. But I love anime. I love and respect animation so much in that way of, I know this is a thing I can't do, or I know this isn't for me, but you're right. Is they push the bounds of storytelling and what they can project, which hits you in a very specific way. One day I'll get to it, but and then I'll tell Grant, and then he'll say I told you so, and then we'll be right back here.
Yeah.
I do that with Allie
Yep,
too.
it is good.
I know, I've heard.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the thing is the inspiration, like words have meanings, names have meanings, and when you can kind of find that blend or find that way to kind of evoke things with words, that's really what I try to do there is have those Easter eggs come up and like they're for the true fans, right? They're for those folks that are out there that, oh, he did that thing. Oh my God, he found, like, and I'm not, there's lots of folks where I'm like, so many references just go over my head too. Like, I know I'm not a true fan of that one yet, but I wish I was, because I would get, I want to get all the references. But yeah, that's sort of who I write that for is the folks that are into it, and they'll catch it. If I put it in there, they'll catch it. But I put it in there in a way that even if you don't know it, right, it still makes sense. It's still kind of cool. It's still, and that's the balancing act.
Well, thank you for answering those. Let's move on to some of the logistical questions about the campaign. So you're going Kickstarter, yes?
Yes, Kickstarter. It'll be my first Kickstarter, so it's been a little bit daunting to try to figure all of that out.
Good luck. You got something really special here, though, so we'll boost it as much as we can for sure, because we all love it for sure. So
thank you.
No, thank you. I like fun things. So how about? So this will probably go out around the 8th, I believe, of June. So you're launching right around then, I assume.
Yes, I think I was aiming at the 9th. I hear Tuesdays are good. So
Tuesdays are good.
Yeah. So we'll put that to the test, and aiming at a simple 30-day campaign, and we'll go from there. I hope it funds. I hope people find it and enjoy it and play it and read it and all that good stuff.
And then
I have so many arms to twist. I'm so excited.
We're also.
I want to play.
I'm like vibrating. I'm so excited. When can backers expect fulfillment?
Okay, so fulfillment for the PDF, like as you've seen, a lot of the writing is done. A lot of the layout is already in place for the PDF. I mentioned that I do want to get a round of playtesting in for the adventure, so there might be some adjustments there. But all things, take into account, the PDF should be out at close. So in 30 days after launch, when we close and fund, I'll just speak that into existence. But that night, once I get all the funding in, I'll be starting to shoot all of those emails out to folks with their PDF copy. I'm trying to fulfill it through DriveThruRPG. It's where I publish most of my stuff, so it'll be some kind of a link or something there that you would be able to pull up into your library from there. The print on demand may take a little bit longer. There's a little bit slightly different formatting and layout that I have to go through as part of that process and do, some last minute checks and a proof copy and all of that stuff. So, I would say, within a month after the PDF comes out, I'm hoping that I'll be able to send out your, at cost coupon. You'd still have to pay for the shipping and that kind of thing, but you get it at cost. You don't pay for the book itself because you funded the Kickstarter, right? So within the month following, and then I do have an aspect. We've been talking about A5E, and that's what this show is about. But I do want to mention that I'm one other aspect that I'm working through is the 5E or 5.5, whatever the latest version is being called now, conversion, if you will, for the Shamanist class, so that more people can take a look at it, more people can enjoy if they happen to still be playing 5.5. in the Dungeons and Dragons world. I think that's something that maybe they'll get introduced to A5E and
here's my
come
hope, right?
come on over.
Yeah.
Come on over. It's great.
The water's fine.
That's what I'm going to use it for. I may not get to play it. My one 5e game is the Radiant Citadel. My DM's running Radiant Citadel. So, we're getting these wonderful looks at the adventures with some expansion, and I was kind of sitting there, and we're talking about this and where it draws all its inspiration. I was like, oh, this would have been fantastic. We're fighting Pazuzus are big bad, so demon hunting right here. So now I'm like, hey, can't bring it into the game, but look, it's shiny. It's demon hunting.
Nice. I definitely like that. So that part of it, I think I'm working through as well, and there'll be an updated layout for that as well. So, but all of that stuff, again, I'm still aiming at getting the PDF at close, and then the physical after that. I'm hoping to have one maybe surprise stretch goal. We'll see if it's in the cards, but that's sort of hidden for now.
Fair enough.
And I did have a question.
We'll keep boosting. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm really excited about it, and I want everybody else to be excited about it.
Awesome, thank you.
I did have another question. Sorry, I kind
please.
of thought about it, about the Shamanist itself. And I know Grant talks about all the time, he loves the starting gear at higher tiers.
Yes.
In A5E and all the classes. And trying to do some of it in my pet project. How do you come up with those lists of what is the starting gear at the other tiers? Because that's something uniquely to A5E, something, you guys all do so well. And I know I'll overthink it, but I also want to be like, what's the answer? So I don't overthink it.
It is as easy as and as complex as just putting yourself in the position. So what I mean by that, I look at it and I say, okay, well, here's the Shamanist. What would I want if I were playing this Shamanist at tier 1, at tier 2, at tier 3? What would be cool? And I just scan the lists. Hey, here's a cool magic item. Here's this cool magic. That would really go well if I was doing this. If I went down this build path, I would want that. So I say simple, but that's really what I do is I put myself in that position, either as a player, but also as a narrator. What would really be cool to gift or put into play so that they could discover it, or maybe the bad guy is using it and they end up taking it over because they defeat the bad guy. That's exactly how that list is supposed to be used. And so I just put myself in those positions and start scanning the magic items. And one of the things that's really great about A5E is the tool site. Quick plug for Morris and the team for keeping that going, and really just trying to keep up with all of the content that's coming out from them. But you can search, you can filter, and if something speaks to me, I look at it and say, hey, what level is that? And I'll pop it in there. And if you look at other lists, that's another good guide. You can say, well, per tier, they have about X number of things that you can choose from. And then I try to align at least one or two that are a really good match for an archetype, for each archetype. And that's the process. It's fun, right? When I first was like, oh, I got to do this thing, it feels like a chore. And it's another thing to do, but you put your mindset into it in a way that I'm imagining that I'm using these magic items or I'm using this gear. It becomes a fun task, right? So that's sort of how I think about it.
I'm probably going to pick your brain for so many more questions as I eventually get to doing more class-based stuff, because this is one of the greatest conversations to have for it. And yep. You did the Ranger for A5E,
Ranger,
correct?
Yep,
which is one of my favorite base classes, and the changes are just beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm almost like, I don't need an archetype. Just let me play this Ranger all by itself. So I know you've already put things out there that really speak to what I like in my sensibilities, and so
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. So kudos again to Ian Publishing and to Russ in particular. He had a strong vision of what he wanted, and then he gave me free rein to go after that vision. And it was, we had common ground, so that I was able to follow that vision. I had other experiences to, again, thankfully from my kids, they introduced me to the Ranger's Apprentice books, and so a lot of it is drawn from there, and call outs to there. If you read the series there, you'll see some things in one of the archetypes around that too. So yeah, inspiration comes from a lot of different places, books, media. I'll take it when I can get it.
God, for real.
Thank you. Ranger was fun to do, and I was glad and proud to be a part of that one.
So I think, unless you guys have any more questions.
No, because we could put some of the audience questions at the tail end here. But
This is true.
Move on to the first party roundup.
Indeed, it is time for the Mimic Moment, starring Mimo, the Mimic. Yes. My handy sidekick, sponsored by my nightmares. So as our third party roundup, there's nothing really new that's come out this month, the past month or so. It's been pretty slow. I know everyone's been working on their projects and kind of tying up some loose ends and other things.
It's about to speed up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that kind of that there, but we have stuff coming out next month, and we're at, for the first party roundup, Gate Pass Gazette number 51. We have passed the half-century mark. In here.
Wild.
That's just wild. That's wild to me.
So the four articles, as always, and our first article is from Michael McCarthy about Herald class features. So again, as EMP and the Gate Pass Gazette have been building out optional class features and alternate class features for the various base classes, Heralds finally get their turn. New smites, new auras, new divine lessons, things like that. All of my Herald friends are foaming at the mouth with the new smites and the auras. It's very exciting. So, Heralds are getting their love, and can't wait to spread more of that love as the issues go on. Our second article from Andres Capiello is a new urban environment, Port Descent. So Port Town gives you a new location to insert into your games. And this article is really great because there's a local organization in there, notable people and places within the town, a local holiday, adventure hooks, and a nice little tidbit in there was like the local government. It's like no one talks about that. So It really helped this place feel alive and insertable. Our third article comes from friend of the show, Mike Myler, some more archetypes. These are about inner focus and more focus in there in what you do. So a focused berserker, a focused bard, a focused wizard, a focused rogue, which is funny because given my last session with my berserker, I could have used the focused berserker and gotten all those expertise dice to hit on my gosh darned attacks. Dang it. And then our final article comes from Zan Broadway, and these are more roll tables, which kind of seem like, if you don't think about it, filler, but it's all that stuff that you don't want to think about as you're improving or plotting your party's journey. So these are social encounters and travel scenery that you would encounter along your way, and they're localized by regions and whatnot. So always appreciative for more roll tables because I can't be bothered to make them up. And sometimes I can only say Larry the Kobold so many times.
Yeah, they're just a great improv tool. Even if you never roll on them on the thing, you can look at a roll table and get ideas as you're planning your sessions or what have you. Yes. Or you can use them at the table and just the way.
And no new insights on Secrets of the Tome coming out. So hopefully we'll get some more news soon. But can't wait to hear more about that coming out. And that is, once again, in the fall. And that wraps up our Mimic Moment, where I made that incredibly momentous.
I do have some audience questions. Friend of the show, Jim, he would love to hear Anthony compare the Shamanist to other similarly themed characters. How does it compare to druids or clerics? What role does it play in the party? You kind of already covered it. It kind of, your inspiration was a half-casting bard, but right. Do you have any other insights
sure.
about that?
Definitely. So again, there were so many choices here to kind of hint, like possibly be an archetype of when I was initially going down this path. And Druid came up, Cleric came up. When I started looking at Shamanist, there is overlap, right? There is overlap between somebody that is in tune with the supernatural, okay? Someone that may serve the role as a healer, somebody that may be out collecting wildlife and berries and things like that. Like, why is that not just a druid? Why is that not just a cleric? And I look at clerics as, themed around a deity, and I think of shamanists as being sort of more, I don't know, animist or that type of spirituality where there may or may not be a specific pantheon or god involved, but it's definitely a different feel. It's not like I'm praying. It's not like I'm granting miracles. It really is a sort of a direct connection to the spirit world, right? Even like Avatar, you're that medium between the spirit world and the physical world. So it's a different feel. With druids, right? I think of druids as they're in tune with nature. They're nature themed. And when I think of half-caster druid, I think of the original 5e ranger, right? And it's a completely different feel than what the role that a shamanist would serve. I think of the shamanist as maybe an early like version of a cleric, right? They perform sort of that. They serve as the person or the wise men that people go to when they have trouble, sleeping at night, or to ward off, the bad things that come around in the dark. Certainly you can see a lot of other magic users filling that role too. I felt like it had a niche, it had its own sense to it that it was worthwhile to explore and flesh out.
Okay,
Yeah.
so another question, another friend of the pod near would like to know how you draw the line between releasing free blog posts versus paid products.
It's a great question.
And I'll jump in to add to that. How do you make that decision on what you pitch to Gate Pass Gazette or what you get from ENP versus what you selfishly keep to yourself?
Right. So you mentioned Mike Myler earlier in the podcast for one of those articles. He actually was one of my first mentors in the business, and he would always tell me, pitch a good pitch, pitch a strong pitch, but don't pitch your pitch, right? Like, that's sort of like how I think about it. There'll always be something good that I want to, because it won't get chosen if it's not a good pitch, right? But if it's something close to my heart, something that I really am invested in, that's what I try to keep for myself. That's what I want to, I spend more time with it, or I build it out more, or I want to think about it longer. Those are the things that I think, the closer they are to home, the more that I tend to say, hey, I'm going to try to release that for myself. That's not a 100% rule. There are things where I'm building and building and building, and then an opportunity comes up that lines up with one of the things that is a part of that. And so I might like, let me let that one go. I still have the bigger piece. Let me push this one out into the wild so that people, can enjoy it before the other project's done. But also, like, it has my name on it usually, and then I'm getting some exposure. I'm still staying relevant in the freelance space and that sort of thing. So that's a part that goes into that decision. Other part about the blog is still me, right? So I do put out some things that are a little bit more like meaningful or close to my chest. How I think about that, and that I've been trying to build up a little bit more this year. I kind of gave myself a New Year's resolution. Can I put out something every month? Can I put out something every week? And it's not always going to happen. I know life gets in the way. But I've got three kind of recurring things that I'm trying to put in on a monthly basis. A monster out there, a magic item out there, and then something to do with lore. And the way I think about it is these things will probably end up in a book someday. And by the time I put them in the book, they'll have forgotten about the blog, or there'll be so much more in the book anyways, right? Okay, 12 monsters, that would be a decent book. But a monster book is usually like 20, 30, 100 monsters maybe, right? If it's a real big book, right? So 12 is a drop in the bucket out of a big monster book. Same thing with magic items. Magic items are a little bit easier to write. They're smaller. Again, I can publish them as a part of an adventure later, or I could use them myself as a part of like a smaller magic item release. They're not lost to me just because I put them out for free. That's how I felt like there's a trade-off with putting my name out there, putting my designs out there, and having people kind of see who I am as a designer. Not just through these first-party published items, not just through some of these collaborations that I partake in, but these are mine. These are me, and it's a kind of a sharing thing, right? I want to like if I'm going to be in this space, right? This is a good way to interact with the audience or the players or the people that are investing their time to have fun with our stuff. I don't know if that's the answer to the question, but that's sort of how I made those decisions, I guess.
No, that makes a lot of sense because you're trying to keep it going and
yeah, and like I said, like at some point the blog became not just what am I doing, but it became a way for me to continuously generate content. Mm-hmm. And as a writer, you always hear from the successful writers always be writing, right? And I didn't really ever take that to heart. I always wrote when I was inspired. I wrote when I had an assignment, or I wrote when something was due the next day. Those kinds of things. When you write every day, it's exercise. You get better. So that's how I'm trying to leverage the blog. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to use the blog for.
Well, thank you. Those are good audience questions. And then stay tuned next week or next month because we'll have one of those askers as the guest, Jim Temple from Variant Codex Press, to talk about
that's our
his new
second
class
repeat
that's coming.
guest.
Nice.
Yeah. So like we said, get ready.
He's another great guy. So I look forward to that.
I have one final question, and we'll go a little different than usual. What is your favorite, and I'll say broadly, character in K-pop Demon Hunter? Go with one of the hunters, but...
I'm probably going to have to say Zoe. Okay. And there's a lot of, for me, my favorite element of K-pop Demon Hunters is EJ, right? The real-life singer behind Rumi's character. But in terms of the characters in the movie, I feel like Zoe speaks to me a little bit. She's often portrayed as being pulled in two different directions, U.S. side versus Korean side, and I've got a little bit of that being, an American here, but also with a Filipino heritage. So there's that kind of where do I fit? Where do I belong? Kind of feeling. There's this idea of, are my ideas good enough, right? That speaks to me too. I have a lot of, fun. I try to have a lot of fun and try to be silly a lot of times. And, that gets Zoe in trouble, right? So I feel like in terms of favorite character, maybe it's most connected to character, if you will. But yeah, definitely my favorite inspiration from the movie is the real life story of EJ and how she just, turned what could be, hey, I got passed over for a certain thing that I was training for my whole life. And then all of a sudden, the biggest hit in the, globally in the world for, several months in a row.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, like, she's still my hero. She's still my hero, right?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, cheated and gave you 2 answers, but
No, perfect. I mean, great,
yeah,
powerful themes and an incredible story.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have a favorite character? I'm not sure we can top that.
No, I can't. I like Mira, but my wife is basically Mira anyways, so I would like Mira. So.
That's awesome.
It's gonna be really weird. The tiger, actually, because I
Yes.
resonate so hard with it. But here's the thing: is I feel like in my day job, I'm always delivering the message, and it's a message no one wants to hear. So you get that whole first series of introductions where he's bringing the save the dates and stuff, and
Yeah.
Rumi's just like, no, and it just feels like me so many times. And then also trying to write the plot or write the things or getting that like little fixation on this is the thing to fix.
Right.
And I the next day I was like, I suddenly felt super seen by a derpy animated tiger. And then, and so it was just very much, like I said, it's that character that resonated, and it's kind of the one that was like, oh, wait, I like this for a reason, and I don't know what that says about me.
I like it. You've done some self-analysis.
That's right.
Yes.
I like the tiger because I'm a crazy cat lady, and I'm always a fan when there's a sensible cat on that.
It was doing the reverse cat instead of pushing things over.
Yep,
It was trying to fix it. That was a great touch.
it was.
No.
Well, like I said, keep your eyes peeled for everybody in the show notes. We will have all the links to Anthony's stuff, including his upcoming Kickstarter for Warden of the Veil,
Yeah.
which is the Shamanist class that we've been talking for the last hour about, and we are really excited about it. So please get on there, back it early, back it a lot.
Yeah, back it many times over.
Just whole shelf of the book.
But otherwise, this has been A5 Evening. Crack a book.
Roll some dice.
Have a blast.